Hello friends, welcome to another video of Mule Learn from D. Today we will be discussing about how we can do request validation in our API. Okay, so sometime we used to get some requirement where we will receive some data from end users or suppose from some third party client. So that time it is compulsory that before doing any processing with that data, we need to first validate whether that data is valid or not, right? Whether it is XML data or JSON data doesn't matter, but before doing any kind of processing, we should validate that data uh, before uh, enter that to our API. So let's see how we can do that. So here I am currently in Anypoint platform, and here if you see I have taken a very simple example and I have created one API using our API designer. I am in design center right now, so I have tried to create an API that is I have given a name of Mule DigiWorld Learning System API version 1. This is the name I have given, and if you see I am using types, two types. So uh, one is for XML schema, another is for JSON schema. So let me take you to the data. I will show you what data we are expecting from the client. So let's have a look into the XML data. So here is the XML data which we are looking for from our client, and let me tell you that here few tags are like few fields are optional, few fields could be compulsory, so that we will have a look. Also let me show you what the JSON data looks like. See, it is the same data which is in different formats. So earlier one is in XML format and this one is in JSON format, right? So let's have a look into the XML schema. So if you see here, the parent element name is suite. So that means this is the name I have given for the parent element. So that is the complex type. So you have seen you can see here this element name is suite and this type is complex, right? And now let's have a look into the child elements. So these are name, price, weight, description, and calories. And if you see here, this property actually makes it compulsory or optional. If you see for description and for calories, it looks like these are minimum occurrence is showing as 0. That means these are optional properties. And for name, price, and weight, for these three, we have made this as compulsory in our XML data. Okay, so we will validate that. So this schema we will be using in our RAML to validate the data during our API request processing. Okay, let's have a look into the JSON schema. So if you see, this is quite similar, but let's have a look. This is the parent element name. So let me tell you, so this is the name we have given it here, right? So in the JSON also, JSON schema also, we have this element, and if you see, the type is object. Now it will have another other simple elements. So these are name. If you see, this is string. Price is also, I have made it as string. Weight is also string. Description, then calories. And if you see here, this property I have mentioned it as name, price, description, calories, right? So these are required properties. Whatever is not mentioned here, that means it is an optional property. Okay, so that's pretty much from the schema perspective, and I have also shown you the data. So let me make one few changes here. So I will make weight as compulsory. So I'll make it as compulsory, and what I will do as like XML schema, I will make description and calories as optional. Okay, so let me remove that comma as well from there, and I have just saved it. Let's go back to the RAML file. So here if you see, this is the version I'm using 1.0, and title, as I have already mentioned, this is the name of the API. And in the type we can see that I have defined two types. So using this include hash exclamatory include, we have actually referred to our XML schema as well as our JSON schema, and I have also given the name as food XML type and food JSON type, right? And here I have taken, I mean, for demonstration purpose, I have made it as food XML, and it is having basically two methods. One is post, another is get, right? And basically the post, because in get we don't send any data to the service. So this post method will basically validate the incoming request, so we will use this one, right? And in the body I have mentioned it as application XML, which I am expecting for food XML, this resource. And then the type I have mentioned it as food XML type, which I have defined it here, right? So by doing this, I have made this as compulsory. Hold on, what it is? It is showing. Okay, okay, all right. So we'll go here, because you can see that it is showing one property which says switch should have required property. Wait, we will see to see this error. Okay. So this is the example file. So in the examples I have taken these two examples. See, uh, if you are not familiar with Anypoint platform, so let me tell you that once you log into Anypoint platform, you have to click on this, and you have to just click on Design Center. And in the Design Center, if you see recently visited, it is showing my API. But if you are opening the Design Center for the first time, there you can have two options. One is Mule application, another is API specification. You have to click on that API specification, and then you have to provide the name, which I have given it as Mule DigiWorld Learning System API version 1. This one I have given the name, so you can mention any other name of your choice, and then it will take you to this editor window where you can actually edit your RAML and other things. Okay, and if you want to add any folder, this is the option. So you have to click on this plus button, and then you can select new folder. Like that, I have created examples and schema folders, and within these folders I have actually created files, different files. So let me tell you how you can do that. So once the folder is created, you can click on this, and sorry, you can click on this plus button, which is just beside these three dots. So you can click on this plus button, and you can select a new file, and then you can give the name of this file, and then the file will be created, and you can put the content there, right? So our food XML, this resource is having two methods. One is post, another is get. So post method basically expecting a body which should be application XML, that means XML format we are expecting, and then the type should be food XML type, which we have defined in the in our food XML schema .xsd file, right? And also example, if you see example, I already have shown you that these examples I have put it there in the examples folder. So this example basically it is trying to refer, right? Let's go back to our RAML, and a similar thing I have done with this get method as well, so it is pretty explanatory. Let's have a look into our food JSON resource, and this is also having same kind of method, that is post and get. And here also, if you see, the only difference is for food JSON resource, for post method we are expecting a body of application JSON type, right? So the content of the request should be a JSON message, and that should be of type food JSON type, which you have defined in line number 6, right? So also I have given the example as food JSON data.json. So like that I have given, right? So it is again for get method also we have defined the response, and it is for 200. The body should be application, and then type should be food JSON type. And the example I have referred the file here, which is here, right? Now let's see what exactly this error is showing. So it says switch should have a required property weight. Okay. So if you remember, I changed one thing in this schema, right? So the schema got changed, but let's have a look into our JSON file. So if you see here, in the schema, we have made our weight property as weight field as required one, right? But in the example, we are not using that weight property, right? So let's add this property here, and I will put some value. Okay, now if I just okay, one comma we have to put it here. Now if you see, it's not showing any error, right? So I'll just I'll just press Ctrl S, and then it should the error should go away. If you see, there is no error in our RAML file right now, right? So in our this is our API specification project, and where we have actually defined our example files and then our schema files, and also we are using those examples and schema in our main RAML file, right? I have kept it as very simple so that we can understand what exactly we are going to do. So I haven't put any other details. So basically, as per standard, we should not put this resource name, but because we are dealing with different we are trying to validate the data, so that's the purpose I have made the resource names as this food XML and food JSON. Hopefully you will understand. Okay, so here basically from standard perspective, we should actually publish the API specification project to the exchange, but I won't do that here. I will just download the project and I will try to import that in our Anypoint Studio and implement that. Okay, so what I will do, I will just download it, and if you see, I actually downloaded some older version. So let me just replace this one, and I will just replace this. So I'll replace this one. Okay, so let's go to the folder, and I'll just remove this existing folder. So let me delete this. Okay, so this is the file we have actually downloaded from Anypoint platform. From here, using this option, we have downloaded this, and now we will go to this folder, and I'll just extract this, and let's see what are there inside this. Okay, so if you see, this is the RAML file, and this is the schema folder and examples folder. These all having the same data which we were having there in our Anypoint platform. So we will directly go to our Anypoint Studio, and here if you see, I have actually opened one Mule project. I have created one Mule project which is named as API request validation. So I have given it as this name. So what exactly I will do is, I will just right click on this one, and I will go to property, and then I'll go here, and inside this property, what I will do, I will go to main and resources, and here in the API folder, I will copy all those required artifacts. So this one, the RAML main RAML file, and then schema file and example. Okay, examples. So these three artifacts I will actually copy from here, and then I will go to our API folder of our project, and then I will just select paste, right? So if you see now, the Mule project which I created, that was basically empty, and now I have just pasted all these the our main RAML files, and then our this schema folder which is having all our schema files, and then our examples folder which is having our example files. Okay, so let's go back to our Anypoint Studio, and I will just right click on this and I will refresh. Let's have a look into our source main resources. So here if you see, it has already come, right? So this is one of the way to use our API specification artifacts in our Anypoint Studio, but there are other options as well, because as I also already mentioned that you can publish the API specification project to Anypoint Exchange, and from there again you can import or refer that Anypoint Exchange version of the API from your new project. Okay, so that also can be done, but here I have followed this option just to import the RAML and examples and schema files. Okay, so now I will do that standard steps. Right click on this right click on this RAML file, and then just select this Mule and then generate flows. Now this scaffolding flow generation process will run in background, and then you will see that here the another Mule configuration file would be created, and that file will have the scaffolding flows which has been generated using our RAML file, right? So let it complete the processing, and once it is done we will again resume. Okay, so looks like the scaffolding process is now complete, and if you see, it shows scaffold execution succeeded. That means everything went well, and we have our this Mule configuration file which got created. So I'll just remove this API request validation this Mule configuration file because this one was not this one got created when I created the Mule project. So we can delete this or we can keep it as it is, doesn't matter. Okay, so let's have a look what exactly got generated. So if you see, this is a listener, then API kit router, and in the API kit router, if we go in the Mule property, then we should see our this options. If you see, this is referring to this configuration, and if we go inside this configuration, we will see that our Mule RAML file is getting referred from this API kit router, right? So let's have a look into the listener, what port it is listening. Okay, 8081. All right, we will use this for our to send our request to this API from Postman. Okay, so here I will just select, right click on empty area, and then I will select collapse all, so that I can see all the flows which got generated. So if you see, get food JSON, get food XML, and then post food JSON, post food XML, right? So this is already got generated. So what I will do, I won't do any other thing. I will just right click on it, and then I will just run the project, right? And once it is deployed, once the application is running, we will just directly send the sample request, and we will validate different options, right? So till the time it gets deployed, let's prepare our request. So these two data the examples which we are having, so these two data we will be using for our request. So let me go to this Postman, and here if you see, this is the path of our XML food XML resource. So I will just go to the XML message here, and I will, as I mentioned, that we will use post method. So let me copy the XML data. So Control C and then paste it here, and once the application is deployed we will just hit this URL, right? And let me similarly prepare the same the same for our food JSON resource. Okay, so I'll just copy this and I'll change it to food JSON. So I'll make it at food JSON. Okay, and then I will go to body and then I'll select the raw message, and then I will select JSON. So I will copy the JSON request from here. That example I will use. So these are the examples we will use, and we will just try to remove few fields, and we will see if the validation is working or not. Okay, let's check if our application is deployed or not. So it looks like it will take some more time, so let's wait for it. Okay, so our application is now deployed. So let's first do a gate. Okay, so what I will do, I will just do a gate on this application or on our food XML resource. So we will just do a gate here, and if you see in the body section we don't have anything, so the gate method we are using. So let's click send. And if you see, the XML response has been received, right? So XML response we have received. That means our API which we have just deployed here, it is working fine. And let me tell you where from it actually is responding to our request for the gate. So in the gate, basically we use XML. So here if you see, there is one transform message, right? So this transform message is having the hard-coded mapping of those examples which we used. So if you see, this is the code which it is using for replying to our request for the get method, right? Okay, all right. That means we are now confirmed that our API is working fine. So let's do one thing. Let's go back to our Postman, and here we will try to send this post request first. Okay, so I will just do a post request, and if you see, the response is 200, right? That means this request was successfully processed. Now let's remove one of the mandatory field. As I showed you that this property, weight property, was a mandatory property, right? So let's have a look here, and I will just make it like this so that we can see it properly. And if you see, now it is showing bad request, right? So that means the weight property was a mandatory property, and we haven't passed that in our request, and that's the reason it is giving it responding with bad request. And let's see what exactly got printed in our Mule log, right? So let's have a look here. So if you see, it says CVC complex type 2.4.a invalid content was found starting with element description. One of the weight is expected. So if you see, exact error has been shown by Mule log, right? So it is completely describing the actual error. So it is pretty clear that our weight property was a mandatory property. So I will just revert back this change in our request, and let's remove one of the property which is not mandatory. That means this description, right? So this description, so let me go back to our Anypoint Studio and let me open this schema file which we used. So our schema file, so this is XML XSD schema file we are actually using. So if you see description, for description minimum occurrence is 0. That means description is an optional field, and calories is also an optional field, right? So it is also having minimum occurrence as 0, right? So let's remove one thing. So rather than removing the description, I am removing calorie, right? So in that case, it should be returning us the 200 response code. So let's see. If you see, this is responding back with 200. That means the validation is working fine for the XML food XML resource. Let's go back to our JSON one, right? So if you see, I have just clicked on send and it has responded us with 200, right? It has responded us with 200. So similarly, let's do one thing. Let's go back to our this JSON schema and let's see what is the property that is optional. So here also our description and calories, these two properties, these two fields, we have made it as optional, because if you see in the required section we don't have those included, right? Description and calories, these are not included, right? So let's do the same thing here. So I'll remove this, and then okay, so here this comma I also have to remove. So if I send it, it will give me 200, right? That means optional field, you can put it in your sample request, or yeah, that may not be present, doesn't matter, but the request will be accepted to our API, right? So let's do one thing. Let's remove one of the mandatory property. So I will just remove the name property from here, right? So let's remove this one and let's try. This time it will give us 400 bad requests, right? That means the validation is working properly, and if you see here, it shows that required key name not found. So it's clearly mentioning the field which is expected in our sample request, right? So I will just revert it back and then I will send the request. So it is giving us 200, right? So this is the way which can be followed to do the request validation for our API at RAML level. Okay, so if you see, I haven't done any kind of validation or any kind of coding in our API, because if you see, I didn't add any other element, just whatever got generated using that scaffolding process. If you remember, I right clicked on this RAML file, then I selected this Mule option and then generate flows from the local REST API option, and these were the flows which got generated, right? So I didn't do any extra kind of coding or anything to validate the request, so it is doing it automatically, right? So this is how it is working. Okay, let me tell you another thing. So that is the path is having, we checked the listener property and we saw that it was using 8081 port, but where exactly this API is coming, right? So the path, if we want to check, then if you see if you go to the listener, there we should check the path. If you see here, it is mentioned as /API / then star. That means the base path is this one. Till this one is the base path, right? With the /. Yeah, this is the base path for this API, and this is our This is our resource, and this is also another resource in our API, right? So this is how we can do request validation. Okay, and I wanted to show you this thing so that you can use this. So I hope that you have understood the concept, and that's pretty much I wanted to show you today. Thank you so much, and hope you will like the video, and if you like, then please do subscribe and do share.